Listen, I ain't here to tell you what to think. I'm here to show you how to think. 'Cause the difference between people who make it and people who don't, it ain't talent, it ain't luck, it's mindset. It's how you process struggle, how you see opportunity, how you respond when life tests you. Most people don't fail because they ain't capable. They fail because they think wrong. They let the world shape their thoughts instead of shaping the world through their thoughts. See, thinking correctly ain't about being positive all the time. It's about being clear. It's about understanding yourself, your vision, your reality, then moving like you believe in it. Every great outcome starts with a great mindset. Every downfall starts with a weak one. So if you want to level up, if you want to create something real out here, you got to first reprogram the way you think. Let's talk about that. Everything around you, every dream that ever came to life, every legacy that ever got built, every success story you look up to, it all started in somebody's mind. That's how deep this game really is. Before the bricks, before the blueprint, before the check, there was a thought. That's why I always tell people, if you don't get your mind right, nothing you build will last. Your reality is just a reflection of your thoughts. It's the mirror of your mindset. You think small, you live small. You think fear, you attract failure. But when you think purpose, when you think vision, when you think long term, that's when you start creating something that lasts. I remember when I was coming up, I didn't have no investors, no co-signs, no roadmap. All I had was this picture in my head of where I wanted to be. I used to walk around the block, headphones in, just visualizing. I could see my brand, my store, my label before I had the money to make it happen. I didn't just dream about it. I lived it mentally before it existed physically. That's the difference between wishful thinking and correct thinking. One just hopes, the other decides. I made a decision that I was going to build something that represented ownership, community, and growth. I decided that even if nobody saw it yet, I was going to make the world feel it one day. And that mindset, that vision, that's what carried me through every setback. See, most people think the grind starts with action, but it really starts with thought. You can't hustle for something you don't believe in. You can't wake up every day and sacrifice for something your mind ain't clear about. So before you move, you gotta sit with your vision. You gotta imagine it so vividly that it feels real before it is, because the universe responds to clarity. When your thoughts are scattered, your results are scattered. When your thoughts are solid, your results start aligning. Thinking correctly means you stop letting fear occupy your mental space. You can't plant the seed of success in soil filled with doubt. Fear and faith can't live in the same house. You keep talking about what you don't want. I don't want to lose. I don't want to go broke. I don't want to fail. Then all your energy revolves around avoiding pain instead of creating purpose. That's why life keeps testing you. You attracting those same lessons until you shift your focus. Start telling yourself what you do want. Say it with conviction. I'm building something real. I'm leveling up. I'm becoming a better version of me. When that becomes your language, your actions start aligning. You start moving differently. You start walking with intent instead of fear. Your mind starts giving your body orders that match your goals. And the people around you, the opportunities, the energy, they all start matching that frequency. That's the power of correct thinking. You ever notice how successful people carry themselves differently? It's not because they got it all figured out. It's because they believe differently. Their mindset is built on vision, not circumstances. They know that what they see today don't define what they're creating tomorrow. That's why when they take losses, they don't fold, they learn. That's correct thinking in motion. When I was coming up, I didn't see myself as a rapper. I saw myself as a businessman who made music. I was studying ownership while people was studying trends. I was investing in real estate while people was buying cars. Why? Because I understood that my thoughts had to lead my actions and my actions had to lead my future. I knew that if I kept feeding my mind with vision, my environment would catch up eventually. It always does. The crazy part is, the mind don't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. It just follows the dominant picture you hold. If all you picture is struggle, confusion, and fear, your life will echo that. But if all you see is progress, peace, and purpose, that's what starts showing up. It's like a GPS. You got to program it with the right destination. If you keep saying, I don't want to go there, you'll still get lost. But when you type in exactly where you want to go, step by step, it guides you there. That's how your thoughts work. Thinking correctly also means taking responsibility. You can't keep blaming your environment, your past, or your circumstances. The world gonna test you either way, but your mindset determines whether that test becomes trauma or transformation. When I lost people I loved, when the money was slow, when the doors didn't open, I could have let it break me. But I chose to let it build me. I told myself, this pain is tuition. It's teaching me something I couldn't learn any other way. That shift in thought changed everything. You gotta start talking to yourself like the person you want to become, not the one you've been. Tell yourself, I'm built for this. Say, I'm the author of my story. You can't think like a victim and expect to live like a boss. You can't dwell on what went wrong and expect to manifest what's right. Your future is built in the silence of your thoughts before it ever shows up in the noise of the world. And I know it's not easy. The world throws distractions at you, social media, comparison, negativity, everybody trying to sell you a shortcut or a false image of success. But correct thinking requires discipline. You gotta protect your mental space like it's sacred. Take time every day to sit with your thoughts. Ask yourself, am I thinking fear or faith? Am I reacting or creating? That self-awareness separates the average from the great. You ever wake up one day and just feel off? That's not random. That's your mind telling you something's misaligned. Maybe your thoughts been focused on what you don't have instead of what you're building. Maybe you've been doubting yourself instead of feeding yourself belief. That's the moment you stop and recenter. You breathe, you realign, you remind yourself, I'm in control of this narrative. My thoughts steer my ship. I've seen people with crazy talent never make it because they couldn't master their mindset. They had the skills, they had the opportunity, but their thinking sabotaged them. They let fear whisper louder than vision. And I've seen others who had way less rise up just off belief, just off mindset. They didn't wait for the right time, they created it. That's the difference between surviving and thriving. So when I tell you your thoughts create your reality, I'm not just saying something poetic. I'm speaking from experience. Every move I made started in my mind. Every victory, every idea, every plan, I saw it before I touched it. And I stayed consistent even when the vision took time to manifest. That's the marathon mindset. That's thinking correctly. Your thoughts are the blueprint to your destiny. The more you refine them, the clearer your path becomes. Don't underestimate that power. You are literally building your life with every thought you choose to believe. So stop building fear, stop building limits, start building purpose, start building peace, start building faith. Because at the end of the day, your life will always rise to the level of your thinking. The question is, what kind of reality are you creating? From the moment you're born, the world starts shaping your mind. It feeds you a script, tells you what success should look like, what's acceptable, what's realistic. They make you believe there's only one way to live, one way to win. Go to school, get the grades, get the job, work until you retire. And maybe, just maybe, you'll get to enjoy life for a few years before it's over. That's the cycle they program into you, and most people never stop to question it. They move through life on autopilot, never realizing they're playing a game they didn't design. But if you ever want to rise above average, you gotta stop repeating what you've been told and start thinking for yourself. You gotta question everything you've been taught. See, the world don't reward people who follow the script. It rewards the ones who rewrite it. The people who changed history weren't the ones who played it safe. They were the ones who looked at the rules and said, why? They were the ones who heard, that's impossible, and replied, maybe for you. Elon Musk didn't ask NASA for permission. Jay-Z didn't wait for a record label to crown him. Steve Jobs didn't ask the market if it was ready for an iPhone. They saw what others couldn't because they dared to challenge what others accepted. That's the foundation of thinking correctly, learning to question the systems that keep people comfortable but broke, busy but lost, working but not free. Most of what you believe right now didn't even come from you. It came from teachers, parents, media, traditions, people who might have meant well but were trapped by their own limitations. They taught you what they knew, but what they knew was designed to keep you safe, not to help you evolve. Safe is what keeps most people stuck. Safe keeps dreams in notebooks instead of reality. Safe tells you to wait for validation instead of building something with your own hands. When I was coming up, people told me the same thing. They said, you need a label, bro. You need that industry backing. You need that machine behind you. And I looked at them like, why? Why do I got to give up my ownership just to be seen? Why do I got to ask for permission to create what I already believe in? That didn't make sense to me, so I bet on myself. I invested my own money. I built my own studio. I sold my own mixtapes out the trunk of my car. And when I dropped Crenshaw and sold it for $100 a copy, people laughed. They said, who's gonna pay that? But that move changed my whole legacy because it made people question the system. It proved that value ain't always about price, it's about belief. I created my own lane because I refused to accept the one they offered me. And that's what I need you to understand. Every time you question the way it's supposed to be done, you give yourself permission to create something new. Every time you ask why, you open a door most people don't even see. But questioning ain't easy. It means unlearning what's comfortable. It means going against people you love sometimes. It means standing alone when others don't understand your vision. But that's the price of freedom, the price of truth. You gotta start asking yourself some real questions. Why do I believe what I believe? Who told me this was the only path? Why do I chase things I don't even want? Why do I fear things I've never tried? These are the questions that wake you up. These are the questions that pull you out the system and back into yourself. Because once you realize how much of your life was shaped by somebody else's narrative, you get hungry to rewrite your own. Think about it. How many people spend their whole lives doing what they're supposed to do, only to wake up one day unfulfilled? They did everything right according to the world's checklist, but they never stopped to ask if it was right for them. They got the degree but lost their curiosity. They got the house but lost their peace. They got the title but lost their purpose. That's what happens when you stop questioning. You become a prisoner in a life that looks successful but feels empty. When I started to break out of that mindset, I realized something powerful. The limits I thought I had were never real. They were learned. Somebody told me that's too risky. Somebody said, people from your background don't make it there. Somebody tried to project their fears onto my path, but I stopped listening, because the moment you let another person's belief become your boundary, you've given away your power. You can't live your whole life trying to fit into a system that was never built with your vision in mind. Correct thinking is about seeing beyond the programming. It's about understanding that most systems, school, media, even culture, are designed to make you predictable. Predictable people are easier to control. They'll work the same jobs, buy the same brands, chase the same approval, and die with the same regrets. But when you start questioning everything, you become unpredictable. You start making moves they can't forecast. You start building from a different frequency. That's when you shift from being a follower to a leader. And listen, questioning don't mean disrespecting. It means being aware. It means being conscious. You can still take wisdom from others, but filter it. Don't just accept information, examine it. Don't just follow tradition, test it. If it aligns with your truth, keep it. If it don't, let it go. Growth requires shedding what no longer serves you, even if it once protected you. When I was younger, I thought success was about grinding harder than everybody else. But as I evolved, I realized it was more about thinking different than everybody else. Hard work without the right mindset just burns you out. But when you question your path, when you build your strategy on clarity instead of conformity, every move becomes intentional. You start playing chess, not checkers. Look around you right now. Technology changed, the world changed, but most people's thinking stayed the same. They still waiting for permission. They still following rules from a world that don't even exist no more. The new world belongs to those who adapt, those who create, those who question. You ain't got to destroy everything. You just got to see it for what it is. Once you understand the system, you can move through it without being trapped by it. That's freedom. And you know what's crazy? Once you start questioning, life becomes exciting again. You stop feeling stuck because you realize there's always another way, there's always another angle. You start thinking like a creator, not a consumer. You stop waiting for opportunity and start building it. That's how leaders are born. So when I tell you to question everything you've been taught, I'm not saying rebel for no reason. I'm saying reclaim your power. The truth is nobody got it all figured out. Not your teachers, not your parents, not your idols. Everybody's learning as they go. So why not write your own answers? Why not live your own truth? The moment you start questioning, you start waking up. And once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. That's the real revolution. It starts in your mind. It starts the moment you stop accepting limits and start asking, what if? Because that question, that curiosity, that courage to see beyond what's taught, that's where real success begins. The quickest way to lose your power is to spend it on things you can't control. That's how most people drain themselves. They give their energy to the noise, the opinions, the timing, everything except the one thing that actually matters, themselves. You can't control how people see you. You can't control who supports you, who doubts you, or how fast your blessings come. But you can always control your attitude, your consistency, and your work ethic. That's where the real power lies. That's the part of the game that separates the ones who last from the ones who fade out. I learned early that life ain't fair. You can be talented, genuine, and committed, and still not get the credit you deserve. You can be loyal and still get betrayed. You can put your heart into something and still have it fall apart. But the one thing that's always in your hands is how you respond. You can't control the storm, but you can control your sails. You can't control who crosses you, but you can control if you let it break you or build you. That's what correct thinking is, understanding that your energy is too expensive to waste on things that don't move your mission forward. There were times I felt invisible. I'd drop music, pour my soul into it, and the world would act like it didn't exist. The streets were heavy, money was short, and the opportunities weren't coming. But I never blamed the system, never blamed people, never blamed timing. I just tightened my focus because I realized the world don't owe you recognition. It owes you nothing. You owe yourself the discipline to keep going when nobody claps. You owe yourself the consistency to keep showing up when results move slow. That's how you keep your power. You stop expecting and start executing. It's like this: you can't control the weather, but you can control how you build your shelter. You can't control the noise, but you can decide what frequency you stay tuned to. Every distraction is an invitation to lose focus. Every moment you spend worrying about something you can't change is a moment stolen from the work that could have changed your life. The people who win aren't the ones who avoid storms, they're the ones who learn how to build in the rain. Look at Kobe Bryant. You never saw him arguing with refs, crying about teammates, or making excuses in interviews. He didn't waste his energy trying to control perception. He spent it mastering his craft. He was in the gym before sunrise, working on the things that were in his hands. He couldn't control whether people called him the greatest, but he could control whether he played like it. That's why he left a legacy that still echoes. That's the mindset I'm talking about. When I was building my brand, people around me were always talking, comparing, complaining, watching what others had. Why he get that deal? Why she blow up faster? Why ain't they showing love? I stopped participating in those conversations. I realized every time you focus on someone else's lane, you slow down in your own. You start looking sideways when you're supposed to be moving forward. You start chasing validation instead of purpose. And that's a trap, because this world will always give you something new to envy, something new to stress over. But if you master the art of focusing on what's yours, you move in peace, not pressure. The truth is, complaining never built anything. Complaining is emotional noise. It gives you the illusion of movement, but changes nothing. You can sit around mad at how life went, or you can double down on making life better. You can keep replaying what went wrong, or you can put that same energy into your next right move. The discipline to focus on what you can control. That's the difference between people who talk about change and people who create it. You gotta understand that control is power, not control over others, control over self. The way you think, react, speak, move, that's what shapes your reality. The moment you master your reactions, you become unstoppable, because the world can throw chaos your way, but if your internal world stays solid, nothing can shake you off your path. That's why I stopped caring about timing. I stopped caring about what pace the next man was running. I realized the marathon is me against me. Some days it feels like the world's testing you. Everything slows down, everything stacks up, and you feel like you're doing everything right but getting nowhere. That's when most people break. That's when they start blaming luck or people or fate. But if you keep your mind disciplined, if you focus on what's in your control, that pressure turns into progress. Every moment of frustration is a test of focus. Can you still move forward when life don't reward you instantly? Can you keep your faith when your plan takes longer than you thought? That's the real grind. You ever notice that peace and power usually live in the same people? That's not a coincidence. Peace comes when you stop trying to control what's outside you and start mastering what's inside you. Once you stop fighting what's not yours to fix, you free up the energy to build what is. You stop wasting time trying to convince, trying to prove, trying to chase. You just do. You move different. You glow different. You attract different. Because focus is energy, and energy creates outcomes. People always ask how you stay so centered, how you stay calm when things go left. It's because I don't let what I can't control rent space in my head. If it ain't in my hands, it ain't in my plans. If it don't help my purpose, it don't get my attention. You gotta learn to separate what deserves your energy from what just wants to drain it. Every argument, every rumor, every delay, none of that changes the fact that your purpose still requires your focus. I remember one time when business slowed down heavy, people started doubting, whispers started spreading. Instead of clapping back, I went silent. I put my head down and worked. 'Cause silence in the struggle is louder than words. When you focus on what you can control, your work, your peace, your growth, the universe starts matching your energy. Slowly but surely, the right people, the right timing, the right opportunities, they all show up, but only after you stop chasing what's out of your control. That's the mindset I want you to carry: discipline over emotion, patience over panic, focus over frustration. Every time life throws chaos your way, ask yourself, what can I do with this that moves me forward? If the answer is nothing, let it go. If it's something, do it with everything in you. That's how you win the long game. See, success ain't just about talent. It's about focus. It's about showing up when it's hard, staying calm when it's loud, and believing when it's dark. It's about realizing that control don't mean forcing outcomes. It means mastering yourself enough to handle whatever comes. The people who make it ain't the ones with the easiest path. They're the ones who stayed locked in on what they could control until the path opened. So when life gets messy, when people switch up, when things don't go your way, don't fold. Don't waste energy trying to fight what ain't yours to fix. Get disciplined, get grounded, get sharper. Focus on your lane. Because the moment you stop trying to control everything, you start controlling the one thing that actually determines everything. Most people move through life driven by emotion. They let their feelings lead them: anger, envy, fear, pride, and then wonder why they keep ending up in the same place. But emotion is like the weather. It changes every day. One moment it's sunshine, the next it's a storm. You can't build a foundation on something that shifts that often. You gotta learn to move off strategy, not feelings, because principles don't change. Strategy don't waver. Strategy keeps you grounded when emotions try to pull you in every direction. See, when you move emotionally, you react. You act off impulse. You let people and moments control your behavior instead of you controlling your response. And that's dangerous because every reaction costs energy, focus, and sometimes opportunity. Think about how many bridges get burned because somebody couldn't pause before reacting. How many dreams get delayed because somebody took something personal instead of staying professional. Emotion blinds you to the long game. It makes you choose what feels good now over what builds forever. But when you think correctly, you start to shift. You start responding instead of reacting. You stop moving just to prove something, and you start moving to build something. You realize it's not about showing them, it's about growing you. Every emotional reaction gives somebody else control over your next move. Every strategic response keeps that control in your hands. The goal is to move with intention. When I was building my brand, I had every reason to move emotionally. People overlooked me, underestimated me, and sometimes flat out disrespected me. But instead of clapping back, instead of moving off ego, I turned silence into strategy. I wasn't chasing clout, I was building equity. I wasn't trying to be the loudest. I was trying to be the most solid. I didn't want temporary validation, I wanted permanent ownership. See, you don't win by reacting to everything that happens around you. You win by moving like the game is bigger than the moment. You gotta understand that emotions are natural, they're human. Feeling anger, pain, or jealousy don't make you weak. What makes you weak is letting those feelings drive your decisions. What makes you powerful is learning to feel it, process it, and then plan your move. Like when you feel anger, don't lash out, use it as fuel, but direct it with calculation. Turn that frustration into focus. When you feel hurt, don't get bitter, get better. Let it sharpen you, not harden you. When you feel envy, don't hate, analyze. Study what they did right and apply it to your own grind. That's emotional intelligence, and that's one of the strongest forms of power. See, emotion without strategy leads to destruction. That's when people self-sabotage. They let a moment of rage destroy years of progress. But when you build strategy out of emotion, it leads to transformation. You take that pain, that disappointment, that betrayal, and you flip it into purpose. You let it refine your focus. That's how you win this marathon. It's not by sprinting on emotion. It's by pacing yourself with strategy. Look at the greats: Kobe, Nipsey, Jays, Serena. You think they never felt emotion. You think they didn't have moments of doubt, frustration, or anger. Of course they did. But they learned how to channel it. They didn't let emotion make the play. They let strategy guide it. That's why their careers lasted decades, not moments. Emotion can give you fire, but only strategy turns that fire into something that lasts. I remember times when deals fell through, when people I trusted switched sides, when opportunities slipped away. My first reaction was emotion. I wanted to lash out, confront it, let the world know. But then I realized that's exactly how they wanted me to move. Emotion is predictable, strategy isn't, so I'd fall back, go quiet, and double down on my plan. And every time, the silence paid off louder than words ever could. Sometimes the best revenge is not reacting, it's elevating. We live in a time where everyone moves emotionally. Somebody posts something online and people lose focus. Someone says something sideways and people blow up. Everyone's reacting, no one's reflecting. The ones who win are the ones who can pause, breathe, and plan. The world respects control. You can't control everything around you, but you can always control how you move through it. It's like chess. You don't make a move because you're mad at what the other piece did. You move because it brings you closer to checkmate. Every decision is calculated. Every step is part of something bigger. When you start thinking like that, you realize not every battle deserves your energy. Some fights are distractions designed to pull you off your game. The emotional player gets baited. The strategic player stays patient. That's why I always tell people patience is power. It's the ability to delay your emotional reaction for the sake of your long-term win. It's knowing you don't gotta prove nothing in the moment because your results will speak in the end. You can't out-argue everybody, but you can outlast them. You can't change every situation, but you can outthink it. Every time you respond with strategy instead of emotion, you level up your discipline, and discipline is what separates success from potential. There's power in stillness. There's wisdom in restraint. Not every slight deserves a statement. Not every loss requires revenge. Sometimes silence is the move. Sometimes falling back is forward motion, because when you pull your energy back from reacting, you get clarity, and clarity breeds vision. When you're moving emotionally, everything feels urgent, but when you're thinking strategically, you start to see the bigger picture, the one that most people are too impatient to notice. You gotta ask yourself before every decision, am I reacting or responding? If it's reaction, you're giving control away. If it's response, you're taking control back. The difference is timing. Emotional moves come fast. Strategic moves come planned. You gotta slow down your thinking long enough to make sure your next move matches your vision, match your feelings. And I get it, it's hard. We live in a world that glorifies reaction. Everybody wanna clap back, go viral, prove a point, but that energy fades quick. It burns fast and leaves you empty. Strategy, on the other hand, compounds. It builds over time. It stacks wins quietly until it explodes publicly. It's the slow burn that lights empires. So when you feel that emotion rise, anger, frustration, disappointment, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what's the move that helps me long term? Because every time you choose strategy over emotion, you build strength, you build legacy, you build peace. The truth is, this world is a marathon. You don't win it by sprinting every time your emotions tell you to run. You win it by pacing yourself with intention. Every move matters. Every decision shapes your story. So stop playing checkers, reacting to every jump, every slight, every move. Start playing chess, moving with patience, purpose, and perspective, because emotions might give you speed, but strategy gives you direction. And without direction, all that movement means nothing. Your mind is the foundation of everything you build. It's the most valuable piece of real estate you'll ever own. And the crazy thing is, most people let anybody walk through it. They let negativity rent space, let fear move in, let doubt set up shop. But if you really understood how powerful your mind is, you protect it like it's gold, because it is. Every dream, every dollar, every empire starts in your mind first. Before you can win anywhere else, you gotta win up here. When I say protect your mind, I mean be intentional about what you feed it. The music you listen to, the people you hang around, the conversations you entertain, the content you consume, all that's input. And what you put in your mind becomes what you put out in your life. You can't plant negativity and expect peace to grow. You can't surround yourself with people who complain every day and still expect your spirit to stay focused. You can't think correctly in a toxic environment. That's like trying to build a mansion on a cracked foundation. It's gonna crumble no matter how pretty it looks on the outside. I learned early that your environment shapes your mindset. If you're always around people who gossip, settle, or doubt themselves, that energy starts to seep into your subconscious. You might not even notice it, but it starts to shift your standards. You stop dreaming as big. You start accepting less. You stop demanding more from yourself. You start thinking average is normal because everybody around you settled there. But the truth is, average is contagious. And so is ambition. You gotta decide which one you're catching. That's why I always tell people, check your circle. If it don't inspire you, it's draining you. If it's not pushing you forward, it's pulling you back. Every person around you is either adding energy or stealing it. There's no neutral presence. And I'm not saying cut people off with ego, but you got to start separating yourself with purpose. You can love people from a distance and still protect your peace, because you can't grow in soil that doesn't feed you. I remember back when I was first grinding, I didn't have all the resources, but I made sure my environment fed my focus. I used to take long drives through Crenshaw late at night, no music, no phone, just silence and vision. I needed that space to think clearly, because clarity don't come from noise, it comes from stillness. When the world gets quiet, your thoughts get louder. That's when the best ideas hit. I wasn't around people who talked about what they couldn't do. I was around people who believed it was possible. And when I wasn't around them, I was around myself, building my mental foundation brick by brick. You gotta learn how to feed your mind with the right things. Read books that stretch your thinking. Listen to people who challenge your comfort zone. Spend time in silence to hear your own thoughts before the world tells you what to think. Thinking correctly takes space because your mind can't focus when it's full of noise. Every scroll, every argument, every negative conversation is a withdrawal from your mental account. You can't expect to stay rich in spirit if you keep spending energy on cheap distractions. When you protect your mind, you start noticing how much of the world is designed to distract you. The news wants you scared. Social media wants you comparing. The system wants you comfortable. But once your mind is strong, you stop reacting to everything. You stop letting algorithms decide your emotions. You stop letting other people's success make you question your own timing. You start moving with confidence because your vision is internal, not external. It's crazy how much peace you find when you start guarding your mind. You stop chasing validation. You stop seeking approval. You start trusting your instincts. You start understanding that not every thought deserves attention, not every opinion deserves a response, and not every opportunity deserves your energy. That's what mental discipline looks like. There were seasons in my life when protecting my mind meant going ghost. Not because I didn't care, but because I care much about my focus. I had to pull back from certain people, certain conversations, certain energies. People thought it was isolation, but it was preparation. You can't elevate around people who only understand the old version of you. Sometimes you gotta step away to see yourself clearly. Sometimes silence is your greatest investment. Let me tell you, protecting your mind ain't about perfection. It's about awareness. You're gonna have days where doubt creeps in, where fear whispers louder than faith. That's normal. But the difference is you don't let it live there. You recognize it, you redirect it. You replace it with something that builds you instead of breaking you. Every time you choose focus over fear, discipline over distraction, peace over pressure, you're strengthening your mental armor. Think about it like this: if your mind is gold and negativity is rust, the more you let it in, the faster your shine fades. But if you guard it, polish it, and keep it clean, your value multiplies. People are going to try to throw dirt on you, talk down on you, test your peace. But if your mind is solid, none of that sticks, because a strong mind don't bend under pressure. It turns pressure into diamonds. Every great achievement starts in the mind before it ever becomes reality. Before any building is raised, it's designed on paper. Before any business is born, it's mapped out in someone's thoughts. Before any life changes, the mindset changes first. That's how powerful your thoughts are. So if your mind is your blueprint, you got to protect that paper like it's sacred. Don't let people scribble their insecurities on your vision. Don't let negativity redraw your plans. I've seen so many people with talent lose everything because they didn't protect their mindset. They had the skill, but they didn't have the discipline to guard their focus. They let opinions, envy, or distractions destroy their direction. It's not always your hustle that's lacking, it's your mental filter. Because no matter how hard you work, if your mind is cluttered, your path stays foggy. That's why thinking correctly isn't just about being positive, it's about being selective. You gotta curate your mental diet like you curate your playlist. Don't just let any thought play in your head. Don't let negativity go on repeat. Be intentional with what you consume, because whatever you feed your mind becomes your reality. When you treat your mind like gold, you start attracting gold, golden opportunities, golden connections, golden energy. Everything starts aligning naturally because your frequency changes. You stop moving out of scarcity and start moving out of purpose. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. At the end of the day, protecting your mind is self-respect. It's saying my peace is non-negotiable. My focus is priceless. My dreams are sacred. Once your mind is right, everything else follows. The way you talk changes, the way you move changes, the way you see yourself changes. And when that shift happens, the world has no choice but to shift with you. Because when your mind is gold, your life becomes a reflection of it.